$47,000. That's roughly how much the average person leaves on the table over 30 years by filling their Roth IRA with the wrong ETFs. Not bad ETFs. Good ones, actually. Just the wrong ones for this specific account. And the mistake almost everybody makes? They see tax-free and think, perfect, I'll put the investment with the biggest payout right here. Makes sense. Feels responsible. Feels like you're playing it smart. But here's what nobody tells you. The best ETF for a brokerage account and the best ETF for a Roth IRA are often not the same thing. And doing what feels responsible, putting high-yield, income-paying ETFs inside your Roth, can actually be the exact reason your Roth grows slower than it should. So by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which 4 ETFs are built to take full advantage of what a Roth IRA actually does, and which popular ones, the ones everyone online loves, quietly belong somewhere else. Because if you've ever felt like your Roth isn't growing the way it should, there's a real chance it's not a contribution problem, it's a placement problem, and fixing it won't cost you $1. It'll just cost you the next 10 minutes. What ignoring this costs you? Potentially tens of thousands of dollars over a 20 or 30-year window, not from bad choices, but from slightly wrong choices compounding in the wrong direction. And here's the part almost no one talks about. There's one specific ETF characteristic, not the ticker, not the category, one characteristic that should determine whether an ETF belongs in your Roth at all. I'm going to call it the Roth multiplier test, and once you hear it, you'll never look at your account the same way again. I'll get to it in about 3 minutes, right after we clear up what the Roth box actually does, because most people think they understand it, and most people have one piece of it wrong. Here's where we're going. First, we'll go through what makes the Roth IRA a special kind of account and why what you put inside it matters more than most people think. Then I'll walk you through 3 popular ETF categories that feel perfect for a Roth, but often quietly cost you. Then we'll build the actual 4 ETF dream team, what each one does and why it earns its spot. And finally, I'll give you 3 clean setup options based on how you actually behave when markets drop. By the time we're done, you won't just know which ETFs to consider, you'll understand why, and that's the part that actually sticks. My name is Jake, and I spend way too much time thinking about how regular people build wealth through boring, repeatable decisions. If you're someone who wants to actually optimize your retirement accounts, not just contribute and hope, make sure to hit subscribe and give this a thumbs up if it helps. All right, let's get into it. Here's the mainstream belief I want to knock out first. Most people think a Roth IRA is just a tax-advantaged account where everything inside it is equally protected. So the logic becomes, put whatever pays me the most in here and I get to keep all of it tax-free. That logic is half right, and the half that's wrong is costing people a lot of money quietly. Here's what the Roth actually is, in plain words. You contribute money you've already paid tax on. Everything inside the account, growth, dividends, gains, can compound without being taxed each year, and when you take money out the right way in retirement, the goal is that none of it gets taxed again. That is genuinely powerful. Not exciting, powerful. There's a difference. Now here's the stat that reframes everything. You can only contribute $7,000 a year to a Roth IRA if you're under 50. That's the ceiling. And because that space is capped and limited, what you put inside it has an opportunity cost that most people never calculate. Think of it this way. You have a fireproof safe. You can only put a limited amount inside. Some things benefit from being fireproofed: irreplaceable documents, cash, valuables. Other things, old magazines, low-value items, don't really need the protection. If you fill the safe with low-priority stuff, you're wasting the fireproofing on things that didn't need it. A Roth IRA is a tax-free growth safe, and if you fill it with investments that grow slowly or prioritize paying you income now, you're wasting the protection on the wrong stuff. Now, I know the pushback. You're thinking, dividends compound too if they're tax-free inside the Roth, isn't that still a win? Yes, but only compared to holding those same investments in a taxable account. The question isn't whether dividends inside a Roth are better than dividends being taxed. The question is, compared to what else you could put in that limited space, is income prioritized now the best use of tax-free compounding? That's the Roth multiplier test, and the answer for most long-term investors is no. Let me make this concrete. Two investors, same $7,000 annual Roth contribution, same 30-year window. Investor A puts it in a high-dividend ETF yielding around 3.5%, with total returns averaging roughly 8% per year, solid but tilted towards income now. Investor B puts it in a broad growth-oriented ETF with a lower dividend yield around 0.8%, but total returns averaging closer to 10.5% per year, tilted towards long-term price appreciation. Over 30 years, with annual contributions of $7,000, Investor A ends up with approximately $794,000. Investor B ends up with approximately $1,240,000. That's a $446,000 gap. Same account, same contributions, same time horizon, different placement decision. Pause on that number for a second. $446,000. That's not a typo. That's the compounding gap between an ETF that's good and an ETF that's good for this specific account. Now, I want to be careful here because that math assumes a consistent return difference and no behavioral mistakes, which is a big assumption, but the principle is real. In a tax-sheltered account with a contribution cap, growth rate is the variable that matters most because the Roth doesn't just protect dividends from tax, it protects every dollar of appreciation from tax. So the bigger the appreciation, the more powerful the shelter. More income now, paid out regularly, means less staying in the account to compound. That's the math that most people never see written out.
There's a name for why smart people still make this mistake. I call it yield visibility bias. Dividends feel real. You see the deposit, you feel like you're getting paid. Growth, on the other hand, is just a number changing on a screen. It doesn't feel like anything until 20 years later when you look at your account balance. We're wired to trust what we can see and feel over what silently compounds in the background. That's not stupidity, that's human psychology running exactly as designed. Immediate rewards register differently than future rewards. Every study on delayed gratification confirms it. Now, inside a Roth, the tax drag is removed, so the after-tax case for dividend ETFs actually improves inside a Roth relative to a taxable account, but the opportunity cost argument doesn't change. You're still occupying limited space with an investment that's designed to pay you now rather than grow as large as possible. Here's a real example. I talked to someone, mid-30s, great saver, who had put SCHD, VYM, and a bond fund in his Roth and called himself diversified. And he was, in a sense, but his Roth was essentially structured like a retirement income portfolio at 36. He'd built the income engine before the growth engine. The Roth box was full of things designed to pay him, and his taxable account was holding the growth-heavy assets getting taxed every year. When he saw the math on a reallocation, he just sat quietly for a moment. He wasn't doing anything wrong exactly, he just had the right tools in the wrong rooms. Okay, here's the payoff for the Roth multiplier test I mentioned earlier. The test is this: does this investment benefit more from tax-free growth or tax-free income? If the answer is income, if the ETF is built to send you regular cash, it can go somewhere else. If the answer is growth, if the ETF is built to appreciate in value over decades, it belongs in your Roth. That's it. That's the test. And now let me show you exactly which 4 ETFs pass it. ETF number 1, VTI, Total US Stock Market. One fund, thousands of US companies, large, mid, small, even micro. It's the whole domestic market in a single ticker. Low dividend yield, low expense ratio, maximum diversification within the US. It's boring on purpose, and that's exactly why it belongs here. No single company determines your outcome. The collective growth of the US economy is your growth engine. ETF number 2, VOO or IVV, S&P 500. If VTI is the whole country, the S&P 500 is the top 500 companies by market cap. These are the giants, the ones that already dominate their industries. S&P 500 ETFs have returned around 10.5% annually on average over long periods. Low yield, low fees, high familiarity. The key thing to know, VTI and VOO heavily overlap. The top 500 companies make up about 85% of VTI's weight anyway. Owning both isn't diversifying, it's doubling down without knowing it. Pick one as your core US holding. ETF number 3, VUG or SCHG, US Growth ETF. This is where it gets really interesting. Growth ETFs lean toward companies expected to grow their earnings faster than the market average, often heavy in tech, healthcare, and consumer discretionary. When these sectors outperform, the upside can be significant, but the swing factor is higher. Growth ETFs can fall harder in downturns. And this is where the second counterintuitive insight lands. A growth ETF in a taxable account has a tax problem. When you eventually sell appreciated shares, you owe capital gains tax. In a Roth, that tax bill disappears entirely. The very characteristic that makes a growth ETF slightly uncomfortable in a taxable account is exactly what makes it powerful in a Roth. The bigger the gain, the bigger the Roth's advantage. But, and I cannot say this clearly enough, a growth ETF only helps you if you don't panic and sell it during a downturn. If you check your balance every morning and feel sick when it's down 20%, a growth ETF will hurt you, not because it failed, but because you did. The ETF is fine, the behavior is the variable. ETF number 4, VXUS or IXUS, International XUS. US stocks have outperformed international stocks for most of the last decade. That's real, and it makes people want to skip international entirely. But investing is not about replaying the last decade, it's about the next 3. No country leads forever. The US represented less than 5% of global GDP 100 years ago. The future distribution of market leadership is genuinely unknowable. International exposure isn't pessimism about the US, it's intellectual humility about what comes next. If international markets lead the next 15 years, and there have been long periods where they did, you'll be glad you had exposure inside your tax-free box. Actionable steps. Okay, here's what to actually do. Step 1. Audit what you're holding right now. Log into your Roth IRA and write down every ETF. Then run each one through the Roth multiplier test. Is this built for income now or growth over decades? This takes 20 minutes and costs nothing. Step 2. Identify any misplaced holdings. High dividend ETFs like SCHD or VYM, REIT ETFs like VNQ, bond ETFs like BND, these aren't bad investments, they just often belong in a tax-deferred account like a traditional IRA or 401k, or in a taxable account where their steadier return profiles are easier to hold. Step 3. Pick one of 3 simple setups. Don't build a 12-fund portfolio. Here's what actually works. Keep it simple, 100% VTI. 1 fund, the whole US market, done. 2-fund world mix, 80% VTI or VOO, plus 20% VXUS. You own the US and the rest of the world. Growth tilt, 60% VTI or VOO, plus 20% VXUS, plus 20% VUG or SCHG. Same core, modest growth boost, global exposure. Step 4. Set a contribution schedule and automate it. The investors who win with these ETFs aren't smarter, they're more consistent. Auto-investing on the same date every month removes the timing temptation entirely. Step 5. Don't touch it when it drops. This sounds obvious, it isn't. When your Roth is down 15% and the news is ugly, the instinct to do something is almost overwhelming. Write down your plan now, before the market drops, and commit to it. The people who stay in during down years are the ones who actually see the compounding work. One last note. Your situation is not identical to someone else's. Age, risk tolerance, whether you have a taxable account to hold income ETFs, all of it matters. The principle that applies universally is this: use the Roth's tax-free growth advantage for the investments most likely to grow the most over the longest time. That's the universal rule. The specifics bend to your life. Here's what another year of not thinking about this looks like in real dollars. If you have $50,000 in your Roth today and you're in a 0.5% return drag situation from misplaced holdings, over 25 years at a 10% baseline, you're giving up somewhere around $70,000 to $90,000 for zero reason other than placement. That's not fear, that's just math. So here's the one thing I want you to do in the next 24 hours. Just one thing. Open your Roth IRA. Look at what's in it. Run the Roth multiplier test on each holding. Growth tool or income tool. That's the whole exercise. Takes 20 minutes. You don't have to make any moves today. Just know what you own and why. If this helped you think more clearly, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I put out a new video every week on exactly this kind of stuff. And in the next video, I'm going to show you specific percentage allocations based on risk tolerance, so you're not guessing how much of each ETF to hold. Drop a comment below. Which type are you? Keep it simple with one fund, big 500 investor, small growth tilt, or global hedge. And tell me what would actually make you stick to your plan during a down year. I'll see you in the next one.